Can you please have a fourth speaker on stage? All right. Can you also please have Uwais Anjum? Entrepreneurship, as we all know, is a journey with a lot of failures, a lot of successes, lots and lots of obstacles, and it's not the same for all of us. Some of us have to succeed. For that, for succession, we have to work very hard. Well, it goes for everyone. There are sleepless nights involved, but for some it might take 3 weeks, for some it might take months, for some it might take years. There's a lot of disruption, a lot of creativity that needs to be injected in. The people sitting with me are successful entrepreneurs who set up successful businesses and corporations, and you're lucky to hear from them today. This is supposed to be a very interactive session where I wouldn't be asking the questions. The questions would actually be asked by you through the stories of these successful entrepreneurs. So before we begin, I would like to actually have the introduction of all the people we have in our panel today, starting from Uwais.
How much time do you have? Can I take 15 minutes? I'll do a brief intro. I've been in the tech space for almost 18 years now. I have a background in technology. There's a small institution called GIT Institute. I was from the very first batch, graduated in '97, worked in Lahore for a couple of years, and then was based in the Silicon Valley for 6 years. Worked with a number of startups over there, and then moved back to Pakistan in early 2006. And the main reason for moving back was family. There was nothing more to it. But I was working with a startup, and at the time there was this crunch over there to expand the team, and it was very difficult to expand the team in the valley. And I was able to convince my leaders over there to experiment in Pakistan. So I came back to Pakistan, started Numetric Corporation in Pakistan, from the first engineer to the 40th engineer. Within 5 years, 90% of the global engineering was being done here in Islamabad. So it was a very empowered organization. And then it eventually got acquired by McKinsey, which I believe is a big success story. And I think Pakistan, and in particular Islamabad, had a major role to play in that. For the past 5 years, I quit Numetrics and I started my own company. It took me 2 years to figure it out. I think for the last 2 years that I was at Numetrics, I knew that I did not want to do that anymore. But it took me 2 years to figure out what I wanted to do next. And again, I mean, that's a very important learning for people to have. A startup या अपना काम शुरू करने से पहले conviction का होना बड़ा ज़रूरी है. And everybody will have different source of conviction. But if the conviction is not there, then it is so hard that you would quit very soon. So it took me 2 years. For the first year, I bootstrapped my company. I wanted to build a product. I didn't want to do services at all. It was a cricket-centric product called Crickout, bootstrapped it. After 1 year, did a seed round from the Valley, launched the product. It was a very successful launch, then failed miserably to do Series A, which was necessary for that kind of company to have. And I realized I was perhaps trying to build a very different kind of company at the time, and Pakistan was not the right market for it. And that is when the Pakistani DNA came into action. It jugaad ki ke, let's try to do something different. So at this point, I see my company as having two flavors. So there is a innovation lab, which fundamentally is building products, and we've come up with a very innovative model of creating, building, launching products in Pakistan. And then we have the services wing, in which we are working mostly with startups and young enterprises. So that is where we make money, and the other side is where we lose money. So that's that.
My story is half as exciting as that. When I was 15, I wanted to be a nuclear physicist, and I wanted to go to MIT. My father said no, so I joined the army. And it was very boring, jumping out of planes, diving into the sea. Most of the time, you're just sitting there saying, where's the next plot that we can actually get? So I quit the army, and I decided that I would go to Karachi to earn a degree not know immediately. So I went to Karachi, I started working, and I realized at the end of the first semester at IB, I didn't need it. So I decided to continue working and not pursue a degree. And that journey started from advertising. So after about 5 years, there an opportunity came along to launch the first kind of TV channel in the private space. So out of that, that is my first kind of brush with the entrepreneurship. So we created NTM, which is a marketing company, and we decided to build a TV network. We did that, and I was never satisfied. I was never happy. I wanted to do more. So I went to England for a holiday and decided that we needed to launch a South Asian TV channel based out of satellite. So we started that in 1991. $18,000 was all the capital that we had. So we started a satellite TV channel with $18,000. The net result of that was it became a $100 million company, but we had very little left in it. We were diluted to nothing, me and my partner. So I came back, ran NTM again, went out again at the end of '99. I went out to the US, and then I went back to the UK, and I was pulled into another company. We raised money on the off exchange. We raised about 1.5 million pounds to go to the next year, and then the dot-com bubble burst. And so I was lucky that I created enough noise to be picked up by Hutchison. So I became part of their team, and I did that for 2 years till Mir Shakil asked me to come back to Pakistan to help them develop the Geo platform and the Geo network. So I came back, started with them, heading strategy and heading the international expansion. We did that, and it took me, I was with them for about almost 12 years. But I wasn't satisfied because I wasn't happy. I wanted to do something more. So I went to take my first workshop at Plan 9 in 2014. There were 11 companies in that cohort. 3 of those companies I today work with. There's a total of 7 companies that I've taken to market. And Naeem just asked me, he said, "Do you take sweat equity?" I said, "No, I actually put cash in." So I believe that you have to have skin in the game to do justice to it. I still get a lot of people who come to me, and I help them out wherever I can and whatever I can do. And I've recently joined the Lum Center for Entrepreneurship, right, to replace Teamup Zouhair there. And we have some ideas that we will take forward. Hopefully, we will reach out to most of you and try to build this ecosystem. I believe that Pakistan needs it. Right? There's a lot that can happen, that can be done and should be done. But we need to bring reality and sanity into the whole ecosystem. That is one of the things that I'll be working.
I've been around in Pakistan since 2003 when I started and founded a company called Rosie.pk. When we started Rosie, it was a very alien kind of idea, phenomenon, and I remember when I first moved back, I started the company in a small room of my house. It was a very small room, it was enough to fit 4 people. And we created the technology, we created the site, and it was with a belief that things would change in Pakistan. This was internet users, but there are very few internet users, 1.9 million or so. That number has grown massively, as you all know. But we had seen the success of this model everywhere, and the whole idea really cropped up because we were having issues ourselves hiring, so from a real need. I remember after we launched the platform, we were very excited about the ability to post jobs on the internet, to screen applicants, to use online tools to search and filter. And I usually wear jeans in the office and a t-shirt. At times I wear shoes. So I had to go to my first sales meeting. I wore a suit and tie, which is very rare for me. I made a PowerPoint, and I went into a bank, a very large bank, and I did a pitch to a very, very senior HR executive at the bank, whole team there. And I was super excited. I did a presentation of my life, very slick, told them all of the advantages of online and how online jobs are the future. It's going to transform hiring in Pakistan. And I thought I nailed the presentation. After I stopped, about half a minute later, everybody started, there's a big eruption, everybody was just hysterical, and they were laughing. So I thought I might have cracked a joke, so I was very amused at myself, but I realized they weren't laughing with me, they were laughing at me. And this was such a big behavioral change. I remember being told by this very senior individual who'd been doing HR for like 25 years, that these things don't happen in Pakistan. They happen in the West. The internet is a place where people go to chat. No internet for these kind of applications. We're a major brand. How can we trust our brand in? So this was a process when I first moved to Pakistan. And worked very hard. That bank eventually became our client. It's a client right now too, still today. But there's been a massive behavioral inflection point now. And today, you know, on our site, we are processing about 40,000 job applications a day on Rosie now. And we've helped about 1 million people find jobs. It's been a rewarding experience. And we've seen a lot of things change in that time. So I think all of you who are here today are here precisely at the right time. The rate at which things are changing is astronomical. On the back of this, we raise investment. I think we were the first internet startup to raise institutional VC investment back in 2008. And since then have managed to raise about $9 million for internet and online new ventures in Pakistan. Now I'm incubating and involved in a number of them. And I think this is the best time to be in Pakistan, probably the best place in the world. Very excited to be here and see all of the activity here today.
Thank you, Monis. My name is Zouhair Khaliq. I may have a slightly different story, but it's varied, it's a long one. I'm not sure I can put it all together in the 5 minutes I have. But I started not as an engineer or a techie person. I'm a chartered accountant, and I realized a very reluctant one from day one. I started my life as an accountant, as I said. I did several years, reluctantly, got out of it, sheer luck, and ended up in a mobile technology company, Motorola. They wanted to put together something in Pakistan, launch a mobile operation. And I was employee 1. We had no idea how to do this. Nobody in Pakistan had any idea about mobile or its uses, etc. When we went to the banks, like Monis, they laughed. They said, that doesn't apply to this country. Nobody's going to use it. It's a luxury item. That was 1993. 24 years on, you know what happened. That company was called Mobilink, today known as Jazz. When Motorola came to this country, they said, if we ever get 100,000 customers, we're going to consider it a success. We are in Pakistan as an industry, I think about 150 million subscribers. So just goes to show how wrong other people can be. I didn't give up during all of that time because I believe that this was an essential tool to the progress of the people of Pakistan. And it's taken 24 years to kind of come to the conclusion that it can actually happen. In between, I went abroad, left Mobilink after being the employee 1, and I did other work. I launched mobile networks in Egypt, in Tunisia, and Algeria, in Iraq, just after the occupation forces came in 2003. And what it tells you, what it teaches you, is each time you start, it's a new adventure. It's something I'm sure all of you are living today. The thrill, the excitement, the pure energy and enthusiasm that you are infected with when you have something new to start with. And I'm afraid I've lived it all my life, even though I'm getting a bit old now. But I could never face the standard 9-to-5 job. It bores me to hell. And I'm sure that's why a lot of you are doing what you're doing. And I think that's fantastic, because you've got to follow your heart, you've got to follow your enthusiasm, you've got to follow your passion in what you do. I'm kind of away from the telco sector, technically, but I'm now in the technology sector. I believe in Pakistan's history, its lifeline. There is an inflection point here today in terms of what technology can do, what young startups can do. One thing that I've always been convinced of completely from a long time ago is, having worked and had the opportunity, I'm fortunate enough to work in so many different countries in the world. Pakistanis, and I'm not saying this to pander to your sort of goodwill or flatter the Pakistani community, but to say that we are amongst the best in the world in terms of our intellect, our passion, our abilities, our dedication, and the sheer willingness to work hard. And all of those things are an essential part of being a success. Whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're in a corporate sector, if you don't have all those things behind you, then you're just going to end up the average Joe. And I know that every person in this room has the capability today to move way beyond that and be something really successful. And as I said, there's always an inflection point. When mobile first came into this country, it took 10 years to get to 2 million customers. 12 years actually, if you count it from the time that Instaphone and Partel came in. And then between the next 12 to 14 years, it's gone from that 2 million to 150 million. So there's always a time and a place for everything. So I'm not trying to tell you that, it's the wrong time. I think it is the right time. But when you do launch, and when you do launch your product, your service, be aware that sometimes it takes longer because the rest of the ecosystem hasn't caught up with your brilliant idea yet. Just like Monis is saying. Sometimes it's not ready yet. But that doesn't mean that it won't happen. It will happen. You've got to stick to it. You have to have persistency, consistency, and dedication to get where you want to be.
Thank you so much, sir. Now it's time to take the questions from the audience. If you have any questions, please raise your hands. So I think probably I can take the first question, and that would be from Zouhair Khaliq himself. Could you please mention about your transition from the telco sector to the startup? How has the journey been so far?
So it's been an exciting journey, not always profitable. It's been a lot of heartache, as I think everyone in this room will probably acknowledge. When you start something new, it has a lot of people around you who are going to say, it's not possible, it's not going to happen, it's not the right time. And I have faced that in many ways, from friends, from acquaintances. But you've got to keep sticking to it, you've got to keep going and making sure that you get to that point. And I said something to a smaller audience yesterday. Many, many years ago, I was out of a job. I was sitting there wondering, what the heck am I going to do next? Because there's nothing coming my way. And it's more than 24 years or so ago. And I was in a sort of a shop, sort of office space. And while sitting, going through these thoughts, I saw a plaque on the wall. And it said, trust in God, believe in yourself, and dare to dream. And I've hung on to those words for the last quarter of a century. And I can tell you it's changed my life completely. And we heard from Augie Tabella yesterday, after I said these words, and somebody asked him, and he said, I'm going to borrow line number 1. It's always about God and the trust. So that's when you're going through that transition, I think that's what you've got to hang on to, and your dreams will come true.
Thank you so much. We have another question from the audience.
Assalamu alaikum. My question, my name is Mohammed Usman Khan, I'm an entrepreneur myself. My question is for all of you, and basically I have 2 questions. One, what do you think made you different from other entrepreneurs who didn't succeed at that time when you were starting up? What was the key difference that you felt your team or you had that was crucial for your success or that you guys carried on until now? Second question is, where do you see Pakistan's ecosystem, internet ecosystem going, considering the major changes in the landscape with CPEC and other growth in the industries, which verticals do you see in Pakistan's internet ecosystem that will grow a lot? And if an entrepreneur wants to start today, which of these verticals should they focus on? So that's my question. Thank you.
So the first question, what did I do that perhaps other people weren't doing, or what were the qualities or attributes? And I think there were actually two things. The first one is very straightforward. It was optimism. I had a tremendous amount of optimism and a belief that it could be done. And I think when I came back to Pakistan, the one thing I noticed was optimism was in great scarcity. Whoever you would talk to about doing anything innovative or new, the first thing you would hear is कि इधर नहीं हो सकता, ये चीजें उधर होती हैं, इधर नहीं. And just the optimism, I think, was half of the battle. So I think that worked well. And the other thing, frankly, was when I moved back to Pakistan, I burned my boats. I didn't have any options. I was in a small room in my parents' house. I had to find a way to earn a livelihood. So I think those two things, when you have a back against the wall, and when you have a belief and optimism, it is a powerful force. The other question about the ecosystem, I'll let everybody else answer, but I'll just answer it very quickly. I've been doing online, new things in Pakistan for quite some time. And I'm telling you that the behavioral change I've seen in the last 6 months exceeds the behavioral change I've seen since I started in 2003. The number of people with smartphones, internet access, the payment space, it's much easier to pay now, and that space is evolving very quickly. You've got the State Bank of Pakistan, the PTA, NADRA, it's a perfect storm. So I talked to VC investors globally, and everybody is agreeing that this is one of the hottest places in the world that's left. So you ask what area you should be operating in and focus on. And I tell you that almost any area that makes sense is going to be hot. So if you believe that this is one of the hottest places to be an online entrepreneur, which I believe it is, if you look at the numbers and the population and the GDP growth and the middle class growth, this is where the action is. And then if you look, this is wide open. There are very few online startups or companies that have gotten a sizable piece of the ecosystem of the verticals. So all you have to do is look globally in China and India and Indonesia and the US and the West, and you can quickly figure out what the most profitable verticals and ideas are globally. And if you were to start that in Pakistan and truly be a leader in that space, you almost have a guaranteed chance of being huge and impactful.
The first question, I think what I find different about myself is my appetite for risk. I'm willing to take a leap of faith. Normally, when I'm talking to a bunch of entrepreneurs, I ask them, have you seen The Dark Knight? Quite a few raise their hand and say yes. So how did he climb out of the pit? So the answer was, you have to let go of the safety rope. If you have the safety rope, there is going to be something that's going to hold you back. That's one of the things. Which doesn't mean that you don't mitigate risk, you don't think it through, but there is going to be an opportunity always if you're willing to take that minimal amount of risk. I've looked at various things that I've been involved with. I've farmed also, I've grown with my own hands. It's a great experience. And there was a risk involved. I was in advertising, so one of the first slogans I wrote was for Engro, urea. It was Exxon at that time. I worked in Exxon also. So it was Kudrat, Mehnat or Engro urea. Right? So building on what you said, that there is going to be fate, there is going to be timing, there is going to be chance. Then you've got to think through that, and with your own intellectual capacity, right? Time it right. You have to time the jump at the right time, and you will get across. So that's one part of it. CPEC, I came in last night. I stayed with a friend of mine. He is an economist. He has been working in the development sector for a very long time. He's done work for the Aga Khan Foundation up in the north. And when I come, I sit down with him, we're childhood friends. So I was asking him yesterday, I said, is CPEC going to lead us to a rentier economy? Right? So if we don't do things, if we don't prepare, if we don't align ourselves, it is going to become a rentier economy. So we need to be aware that we must put our intellectual endeavor into making sure that it doesn't become that. So we must there are multiple verticals. Energy is there, logistics, transportation is there. Right? There's going to be data, it's going to be very big. Right? That is one of the areas that you do need to look at. Commerce, verticals, you need to look at. So there are opportunities everywhere. Health is an opportunity. I look at verticals and I try to see what's happening in what and build it from there. Agri-tech, Pakistan has to look into that. Right? I haven't seen much in that area happening, but it is massive. Right? I did farming because I was working with the Jump Group. I was head of strategy, so I had the kind of remit to do blue sky thinking and go into any area which had anything to do with information, gather, disseminate. So when I did that, I realized that wealth in Pakistan lies just 6 inches deep. That's the topsoil that you need to do most things. And if you bring technology into it, we will multiply the opportunity that is there. So that's one area that is going to be critical to be.
जी briefly मैं एक दो बातें करूँगा. एक कि जो success वाली बात है वो it almost sounds like a binary question to me. To me it's a journey. Or as journey में I think there are many failures that allow you to hit certain milestones. And when I look back, I think there are two things. One is hanging in there, the perseverance, right? That you have to have a strong resolve, and you have to hold your own in turbulent times. और दूसरी चीज़ जो बड़ी अहम है वो जैसे फैसल साहब ने भी कहा कि risk appetite. I mean, there's always fear. Fear को आप खत्म नहीं कर सकते. But the question is, can you overcome your fear? So when you say, okay, I'll give it a shot for whatever 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and I'm okay with failing because I believe in it so much that I still want to do it, it allows you to do things fearlessly. And I think that is what you need to have. Feedback, I'm not an expert, but I think I'll just sort of make a suggestion and perhaps leave you with a thought. Think of Hunza ki Khubani, Karachi mein, in a day's time. And there are many opportunities at the same level. I think we need to start thinking local. We need to start thinking about creating value by exchange within the context of Pakistan. And I think there are many, if you zoom in, there are many micro opportunities that can generate big businesses.
Thank you. My question is for Ovais. Ovais, my question is that, they say hindsight is 20/20. With respect to Crickout, what do you think, if you had known in the beginning or you had done some analysis of it in the beginning that you would not have, you maybe wouldn't have done Crickout, or it would have been a bigger success? Thank you.
I focused on technology, I focused on product, and then eventually I started to focusing on business and monetization. I would just turn it around completely. So it's just not a minor change, it's like turning it upside down, a major change. I would have built strategic partnerships up front. I would have focused on monetization, business models at a very early stage. Although I think at that time, consumer-facing products like Crickout, their lifeline is digital spend, the digital marketing spend, and Pakistan abhi bhi digital marketing spend jo bahut hi as a percentage, it's a very small amount. It is increasing significantly, लेकिन 3-4 साल पहले तो बिल्कुल ही ना होने के बराबर था. उसमें से कोई भी चीज, for it to trickle down to a startup was practically impossible. And the fundamental question that I would ask if I were to do it again at that point would be, can I build strategic partnerships that would allow me to have a share of that trickle-down value upfront?
Sorry, I have a follow-up question. With respect to Crickout, what was your business model? Where was the money going to come from in the original product that you built?
It was primarily ad-based monetization, advertisement.
If I could just add to it, because outside I met a young team and they asked me, building a product and looking at monetization through advertising. Now, I've been in that industry for 20 years plus. There are two revenue streams. Either it is what you call traffic monetization, which means eyeballs, and the other one is content monetization, which means somebody pays to consume whatever content is there. The challenges in both are there. The interesting thing is that content monetization, the numbers don't have to be really gigantic and big. A simple analogy, Geo News, we had 3 million people with the app, right, and we were monetizing through traffic. We used to get about $12,000 a month. And we decided to take a punt, and we put Geo News HD behind a paywall. We had 8,000 customers, but we had $32,000. So that's the kind of equation that you have. And yes, strategic partnerships are critical. On the content side, it's always about IPR, it's always about copyright. We need to have those partnerships.
So we have another question from a social media handle asked by Umar Usman Ukul. That is the Pakistani local environment good enough for a startup to succeed? Any good Pakistani example? Anybody from the panel for this question?
I think there's no simple answer to that, but my immediate reaction to that would be yes, it's good enough, and yes, it's not good enough. It's good enough because there's huge talent, there's huge opportunity, there's huge, the timing is right. As somebody else said, I think Manis, that the world is looking to this place as one of the last frontiers where all of this needs to happen, has to happen. It's not good enough because the ecosystem is still evolving. The ecosystem, whether it's the investor base, the willingness to invest, the structural changes that need to be taken in terms of investor protection, startup protection, the money that is available to fund these startups, that hasn't yet developed to where it should be. But that's not a reason why you shouldn't do what you're doing. And in fact, the more you do it, the rest of it will catch up with you. And I think that's the simple answer to that question.
If I could just add on to that, if you look at the uptake of a few of the startups that have well, not startups, but online ventures that have come into the country, Uber and Careem, these are models that were pre-cooked, that were proven, that were optimized. They came into the country in Pakistan, and within a year, all of you have their apps on your phone and you use them, and the business is growing at an astronomical pace. That is an ecosystem. The ecosystem is there, it's ready. You have the smartphones, you're starting to use these apps. It's a matter of us finding those killer use cases and optimizing the business models and learning to do marketing in the right way to get acceptance. If you look at how much money these two entities spend, Uber and Careem, it wasn't a lot of money. It was not a lot of money. And so I think the timing is right, but I think we have a lot to learn. And I think the ecosystem still needs to evolve as well.
My name is Mansoor Khan. I am a cargo professional and a philanthropist. My question to you regarding Rosie.pk, what's your business model? And secondly, a question to all of you, please. Regarding these startups, most of the people are struggling in initial phases. I don't know government plan what they are doing to help them. There is a initiative by Dr. Amjad Saqib Khowat. They are providing soft loans to people for starting business. How can that be integrated with the startup phenomenon? Thank you.
I will answer the first half in terms of the model. From Rosie, we have a mission that everybody in the company feels very, very strong about, and that's helping people find jobs. That's helping organizations find the right people to help them grow and scale their organizations. Now that being said, the business model focuses on employers who are hiring. So we charge employers for hiring tools, the ability to post jobs, the ability to search through a data bank of CVs that we have, about 8 million CVs that are fully indexed, like a Google search. We hand them front-end ERP tools for inside the organization to work through the hiring process, assessment test. So we provide a lot of the back-end tools, the advertising tools to allow organizations to find the right people at low cost, in a small amount of time. So we charge the employers. Essentially, it displaces what newspaper classifieds were involved with in Pakistan. So the job advertisements came mainly through newspapers, and throughout the world, the print news classifieds have been disrupted by online classifieds. You have OLX here, you have Zameen.com, you have Pak Wheels and Rosie. So we're seeing this happen globally, and that's what's happening in Pakistan as well. That's what we're doing.
I'm not an expert in microfinance, which is what Dr. Amjad's specialty is, but generally, जो loans वाला model है, it works well in low risk environments. Startups fundamentally are very, very high risk, particularly अगर हम technology की बात कर रहे हैं, and you need to have an appetite of perhaps failure of up to 90%. और जहाँ पे 90% failure का chance हो वहाँ पे loan लेना, I think is not a viable model for either parties. I think we can look at many, many other models that have been successfully implemented in many, many countries, developing economies, जहाँ पे startup ecosystem को evolve किया गया. There is an example of Russia, there is an example of Ireland, there is an example of Chile, where the government injected a lot of seed fund, and then the local players came into the mix, and there were sizable seed fund available for startups to experiment with. And I think, अगर हम पाकिस्तान में देखें तो through ICT R&D fund and other channels, that fund has been made available by the government. It's just that it has not been as functional and as effective, and I believe that change has started to happen. Right? So I think that seed has been planted. As long as I think it is nourished properly, I think that would be the right source to bank onto.
Microfinance, again, like Abhay said, it is going to go to places where there is low risk. Plus, the ticket size is very small. It's 50,000. Any startup can get together from family and friends. Right? So that is one aspect. And there, for microfinance, the bigger aspect is social impact. I've had some discussions with the FOAD and with the other organizations also for a specific program. Right? Under Traveling, we have rickshaw runners. We are training women to drive a rickshaw. Then we need to provide them with a rickshaw because they can't afford to get one. So that's where you have a play for, let's say, lower cost finance, where you can pick up a loan at a lower cost than the bank would give you. That is where it happens. But the endeavor, the very fact that there are young people willing to put their heart and soul and sweat into building businesses is where it's going to be. That's what's going to really drive things forward.
I think all of it's been said, but to me, the government's job is not to provide you with funding. The government's job is to enable the environment so funding can happen. Okay? And I think that's an essential difference that we need to work on. I think some of it is recognized. For example, through the National Incubation Center, there is seed capital provided to those who are on board in the cohorts with the NIC. So that's a good start. But as I said, this is going to come from the private sector after the enabling steps that we've taken by the government. And I think that realization is very much there. And I think a lot of work is being done on it. There's a lot of discussion going on. And it will happen over the next few months, years as we go into this. And the more startups that we come up with, the more the incentive for both the government to create the environment and for private investors to get into that game and push this forward. I think that, to me, I'm very optimistic. As I mentioned earlier in one of my comments, we are at that inflection point today. So I think that's all going to happen in the next months, couple of years, but it's started.
We can take one more question from the audience. Okay.
Assalamu alaikum. So this is Muhammad Ali. I just moved back from London to pursue my startup dream here in Pakistan. And in the past month and a half, what I've noticed is that over here, mostly mentors and VCs focus a lot on business models, on developing the business model at a very initial stage. But I see that in Silicon Valley as well as in London, the focus is firstly on the product. They basically insist that you first perfect your product, then you go to the market, and money will come by itself. For example, we have seen, like it was mentioned earlier in the day too, that there have been a number of IPOs where companies are not making profit, but they go on to become multi-billion-dollar companies. Similarly, Google is a perfect example, and in the first 3 years they didn't have any business model. What is your take on this? And is there a specific reason that over here there is a particular focus on business models at a very initial stage? Thank you.
Thank you. This marks the end of our session on face-to-face with successful entrepreneurs. Very thankful to Monis Rahman, Zouhair Khaliq, Uwais Sanjam, and thank you. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, yes, right after the question. Yes, answer. I'm so sorry.
So to just answer that, I've learned the hard way. When I was in the US, I did an internet startup. This was a time when over $1 billion USD was being invested in a very small area, the Valley, San Francisco Bay Area, every month. So there was an abundance of investment and VCs. So there was never a question about being able to raise the next round of funding. It was available because there was a lot more investment funds out there interested in the internet than startups. So we started our first startup and we went after eyeballs and the product, and we grew quite fast. We didn't focus on the business model because we were told it's not important. You should just show growth and show traction. We did that, and then the dot-com crash happened. And when we went out for the next round of funding, it just wasn't available. And we ended up going through a distress acquisition. We had to do a sale of the company to a competitor under very unfavorable terms. The lesson that taught me was you should never be reliant on VC funding. You have to have a fundamental product, a service that has value and that you can turn profitable when you choose. And I think that's important, when you choose. You may choose not to make it profitable today because you have the funds available and you want to show growth. But when you need to be independent and be able to turn that into a cash flow that's interesting and you don't have a loss. Because in Pakistan, there isn't an abundance of investment and capital. So I think that's how it's going to vary from what you're seeing in the US and in London, where still there are a lot of investment funds that are trying to find deals.
I think the market capital dynamics and we need to respect and appreciate the opportunity that is available in that market. You cannot apply the dynamics of one market to another, particularly Silicon Valley. I mean, it's a different genre altogether. I mean, try to apply Silicon Valley principles in Texas. You'll not be able to. Try to apply Silicon Valley principles outside of that, whatever 10 miles radius, you will not be able to. You go to UK is a very different economy. Even the value principles will not apply to UK. When you come to Pakistan, you need to understand what is the appetite, what is the investor mindset like, and you need to innovate in this ecosystem. As a rule of thumb, if you go to developing economies, generally आपको technology में जो funding आसानी से मिलेगी, that would be modernization of existing businesses, because people understand the value proposition. If you talk about something totally disruptive, particularly pure technology-centric innovation, it'll be a hard sell. If you talk about pure internet-facing, advertising-driven, revenue-based models, it'll be a hard sell. अगर आप Middle East के investments देखें, technology के अंदर, Kareem being one example, what is it? It's modernization of existing business. People understand that. So be very, very careful in just blindly applying the models that you see elsewhere. Try to understand the local market and then try to leverage the strengths that you see over here.
I mean, the question of whether there is a business model or not is really drawn out of the product that has been developed or the service that is being focused on. I mean, in my own experience, I only look at the potential that a team has. I really don't bother too much about what they've worked on or what they've done. If it aligns with an identified problem, there's an opportunity there. But most of the teams that I've worked with, it's on their potential, it's their ability, their skill set, and how that can be either developed on further, right, or it can be steered towards doing something different with the same skill set. So at times, you need to do that. You need to help them apply their skill sets to a different, in a different manner. Business models, money always matters. There is a process which is required. So I look at people, process, and method, and say, okay, with these people, with this kind of funding available, can it get to that point that it becomes real business? Because at the end of the day, it is about being able to build a business.
Last very few words. It's got to be monetizable. That's it. Technology, people get excited about technology all over the place. I was in a company many years ago where we had a technology which, when I describe it to you, you will laugh. But this was 2002. I got hired to be chief operating officer of a company which had an online system where you could say, I want to have French cuisine tonight in Karachi. And so you could type in and it throw up X number of restaurants, it would give you reviews of those restaurants, and so on. We then integrated with that something called a GPS system in those days, and it would take you there. You were going from London to Paris, you could say, I have 2 kids, I want to see the famous churches on the way there, and then I want to stop at McDonald's to get the kids to eat something. We failed miserably. We got to that stage with £100 million in funding to get to that stage. To monetize it, we needed another £5 million to get to where we needed to. And this was the telecom crash of 2002. And we could not raise a single dollar. The company was wound up and went into administration. I was the last guy to hand out the pay slips to people. I got, 3 years later, the receiver sent me a check for £300, salary owed for 8 months where I hadn't been paid. But today, that technology is Google Maps. Okay? So it depends. All right? It's got to be monetizable. Back then, it was not monetizable. Today, it's monetizable. And that's the bottom line.
Thank you so much, Teamup Zouhair Khaliq, and Faisal Shahjan for joining us. Thank you.